Linda Smith, Park Services Specialist here at Eden Gardens State Park in Walton County, Florida. Eden Gardens, you see the sign here, we're about 20 acres for the main housing, the main house in the garden area, and then we have about 165 total acres. Eden Gardens is part of the Wesley family heritage and Lois Maxon heritage. The park property was actually given to the Florida State Park in 1968 on Christmas Eve by Lois Maxon. We'll talk about Miss Maxon a little bit more, but we're first going to start out with some of the area, and we're going to kind of walk this way, take a little quick tour of the park, the yard area. We are open 365 days a year unless there's a hurricane. We're open from 8 a.m. till sunset. It's $4 entrance fee for a family of up to 8 in one vehicle to come into the park, or $2 on bicycle or walking. And the house, which you see behind us, this is the Wesley House, named after the Wesleys who originally lived here and built the home, is open Thursday through Mondays, with the tours starting, the first tour starts at 10, with the last tour at 3. It's one tour every hour, so well worth coming to see. So we're going to sneak in the house in a little bit and give you a little sneak peek of it. So over here you'll notice the gardens in the yard. It's perfect for weddings, events, picnicking, pictures. A lot of people like to come out here and have their pictures taken because we have some beautiful ancient, what I call old, Virginia live oaks. We have one tree that we're going to go take a look at in the middle of the yard that we know is over 600 years old. And some of our other live oaks, we figure, are anywhere from 200 to close to that age. You'll see in the trees, and particularly the live oaks, you'll see Spanish moss hanging from them, which gives it that southern flavor charm. The Spanish moss does not hurt the tree. It's actually related to the pineapple family, and it just kind of drapes down. We also have another plant that grows on the live oaks. It's called a resurrection fern. It can live up to 100 years old. And we're coming up to a live oak. You'll see this couple. They love this tree. I call it Old Man Walking. That the limb has actually gone down and grown into the ground. And you see this brown stuff on top of it? That's actually the resurrection fern. During periods of drought or no rain, it'll stay dry and kind of brownish. And then once it rains, it greens up really pretty. But it can survive to be over 100 years old. We have restroom facilities here, picnic tables. We have 4 picnic pavilions down on the other side of the property, all with grills. So it's really a perfect spot. And you can get a good look at the resurrection fern as we go under this limb. We have different trees here too. We have magnolias, and we are known for our camellias. We have several heirloom camellias here, and we always, every February, we have a camellia festival. And right now, the Friends of Eden are air layering the camellias, so they'll be available for sale during the festival.
How much are those usually?
Well, they range $5 to $10,
Okay.
dependent on the size of it. And over here in the middle of the yard is what everybody calls the wedding tree. It's one of our oldest, biggest live oaks that we have. This is the one that we've cored and dated, so it's over 600 years old.
Now weddings take place there?
Weddings take place. We host one or event, a wedding, could be a family reunion here at the park. We only do one, and it's a beautiful setup for weddings because you can face the house or you can face Tucker Bayou, which is down here by the down here at the end of the lawn. So we do have the capability of that. We also have a screened-in pavilion that's available for people to rent.
Okay.
So in here you can see the Spanish moss, and it's quite a majestic view. Either way that you look, either out to Tucker Bayou or back at the house. Now the house, we get to that, this property was originally owned by the Wesleys. William Wesley came down here and he fell in love with Katie Strickland, who was Simeon Strickland's daughter, and they owned property within the area. And they were all big lumber mill people. And he got into business with Mr. Strickland and fell in love and married one of his daughters. So Mr. Strickland gave him this property and helped them build the house as his daughter's bridal gift.
Did they get married at the tree?
No, probably. I'm not quite sure where they got married, but I know they had 9 children.
Oh, wow.
Big family. So imagine this area. This was a working lumber mill group. They had the post office here, and all their lumber mills. He had several down here. Were all located down on the bayou, and you can still see the pylons, the pier parts that supported that. And they're actually, we've had archaeological not digs, but in the water. And so a lot of it has collapsed into the bayou over the years. But there were several lumber mills. So you have to imagine this house. It had a full cupola on top. Miss Katie would get up there. The lumber mill business was a little cutthroat. So she would be on the watch out for people setting fire to each other's lumber mills.
Wow.
It has the wraparound porches. The columns were smaller, and it had a steeper roof. But again, this was a working farm per se. When they lived here, there were cottages for the health workers that lived here on the property. They had cattle. They had, over on the other side of the fountain, actually we'll walk back up this way, the fountain was kind of a mud hole type thing for watering the cattle. And they had a Satsuma orange grove in the front. And they had grapes. So, this was a working farm.
Mm-hmm.
There were a lot more oaks. Here, what they primarily lumbered were the longleaf yellow heart pine and cypress. And Mr. Wesley would go as far as Louisiana to Mississippi, Alabama, and in Florida in search of lumber for his business. So the house was built, started in 1895, finished in 1897. They had, as I mentioned, they had 9 children. The kitchen actually ran off on the back side of the house. It was 70 feet long, because in those days you wanted to keep your kitchen separate from your house in case of fire.
Okay.
The 9 children, one of the daughters did get married here, and that was the very first wedding per se at Eden. Mr. Wesley so loved these oak trees that everybody was forbidden to touch them. And I guess there's a story of one time he came home and he saw one missing. And he didn't talk to Miss Katie for months.
Wow.
He was sad, but there was nothing they could do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it fell over in a storm. So, but they are beautiful, unique trees. And so they lived here. Actually, the Wesleys continued living here. Mr. Wesley passed. And then Miss Katie continued living here till 1953 when she passed away. None of the children wanted the house or the property, so it sat vacant for quite a while. Point Washington being a small community, the children used to come over here and play. There was goats living in there, weeds growing up, so the house really wasn't cared for. There was a gentleman who was from Georgia who came down and bought the property with one goal in mind. He wanted the outlying cottages, and he dismantled the kitchen. He did not want the house. And he took those cottages, or buildings, outlying buildings, and established the first cottage rental industry at Grayton Beach. So
Oh, wow.
Some of those outlying buildings are still in existence over at Grayton Beach. But he never did anything else with the property. Which brings us to Lois Maxon, our benefactress. She was traveling the area and just had several houses in Seaside, or what now is Seaside, Blue Mountain Beach, and came out here for a Sunday ride. And she found this property, and she said, "I found my Eden Gardens," hence the name. And she purchased the property. I think it was $12,000, about 20 acres. In those days, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And she set out to renovate this place and spent over $1 million renovating the house and buying furniture for it. And she traveled the world doing it. Lois Miss Maxim comes from a Maxim industry family and also old world money. And she was a publicist with the Time magazines.
Wow.
And her own publishing company. So quite an accomplished woman. She never married, never had any children, but children used to come over here, and she would give them piano lessons. The furniture that was purchased, a lot of it was purchased with the stipulation the house and the furniture would always be open to the public and on tour. So during her time here, she only lived here 5 years before her health took a turn for the worse. And then she went to Pensacola and built a new home to be closer to her doctors. And she moved there. So she, on certain days, the Green Thumb Garden Club, I believe it is, would come in and give house tours. And so she, met those stipulations when she bought the furniture. She gave the property to the Florida State Park Service, so to the state of Florida, Christmas Eve in 1968.
Good Christmas gift.
Yeah, excellent. So over the years, it's taken quite a transformation, but it still has stayed the same. Trees have changed and little landscaping changes, but the house has stayed true to Miss Maxim. She actually lowered the roof, removed the cupola, widened the columns, and she removed the railing that would have been exactly like upstairs, but she removed it downstairs. So we can go in and take a look around.
Great.
She had a rose garden, a cutting garden, a little fountain area out back here that over the years has been gone, has moved. But she used to put little weights, I understand, little weights on her moo-moo and give them a little waiting time with the kids,
Oh.
So even though she never married or had any children, she really loved children and was very good with them. She would have all her friends from New York come down here and visit. So why don't we go inside in the house and take a look?
Sounds good.
House tours, like I said, are available Thursday through Monday. Sorry, that Tuesday and Wednesday were closed for maintenance. It's $4 a person. So
Do those usually fill up pretty quickly?
yeah, we can take about 20 people.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, welcome to the Wesley House. And inside here you'll see Miss Maxim did lower some of the ceilings. She put in air conditioning, electricity. We're going to go over here. When the Wesleys lived here, these rooms did not look anything like this. There would have been a fireplace in the middle with 2 doors on either side, and these were bedrooms. Remember, they had 9 children.
Mm-hmm.
So Miss Maxim removed the fireplace, had it moved over here. The bricks that we just walked up on are some of the bricks from the old fireplaces. This is the second largest collection of Louis XVI furniture in the United States that we know of. So this is why the house is with the Florida State Park system and why it was always open to the public. Each piece has a different design on it. The collection of the spring, summer, fall, winter. She had the crystal chandeliers put in. The ironic piece, part of the place is, these are Sears and Roebuck curtains from the 1960s.
Wow.
This is a picture of Miss Maxim's mother from fencing school in Switzerland. She brought the portrait home. It was normal for the young ladies to have their pictures painted. And when she brought the picture home, her father thought it was rather indecent because she was showing her shoulders, so he painted black stripes on the painting. Yeah. So
Dads will be dads.
Yes, dads are dads, no matter what. So in either end, they have the mirrors. We have, what make the room look longer, sort of like a, Versailles, type thing. If you look back, you'll just see it looks like it just keeps going.
Mhm.
Then we'll come over this way. And actually, here's a picture of Miss Maxon in her younger days. She sort of looks like a young Lucille Ball.
Can see that.
You can see that, the resemblance. And then we come over here into the dining room. We turn the light on real quick, a little bit of light on the situation. Remember I said each of the rooms had fireplaces and 2 doors. So what she did was she removed the doors here, or the fireplace, and closed the doors, so those were little closets. This is a gas chandelier, 18th century furniture. The most interesting piece, I think, in this room is the mirror. That is one solid piece of glass and one piece of frame. It was packed in clay and brought here to the United States. Quite a beautiful piece.
Very pretty.
And again, Sears and Roebuck draperies and wallpaper. So you never know. Over here is a Gothic hall tree. And we believe this piece of furniture was made by one of her grandfathers, the Smythes. They still have a company in Pennsylvania where they make furniture. The charcoal drawing was done by her mother, who we saw her portrait. The Arabians are also credited with having brought the first Arabians into the United States. Now, whether that's true or not, but that's what we understand. So, but it's a beautiful drawing. I mean, the detail in it is just the veins, just really she's a very talented woman. This is a very unique piece in the house. This is called a petticoat table. It has marble on top. The ladies would have kept their colognes or makeup, perfumes, that type thing on it, their powders, which were very kind of corrosive. They're not what we use today. But if you stand over here, or you're going to be able to pan down, remember in those days, they wore little short dresses. They didn't care if they're slips or whatever, like we do now. We go out in shorts and short dresses. They had the full dress on with petticoats. So before they would leave the house, they would check their makeup, which there's a cutout piece here, which allowed the big dresses to get up in to close to the table.
Mhm.
And there's a mirror down there, so they could always check and make sure their petticoat wasn't shut when they left the house.
Wow, nifty.
Yeah, so kind of an interesting piece. Then we come over here into what she turned in. This would have been the sitting room for the Wesleys, but Miss Maxon turned it into her library. And then here we have 2 portraits of her grandfathers. You already heard me mention Grandfather Smythe, the furniture maker. And this is Grandfather Clarence Maxon, Grandfather Maxon from Maxon Industries. She built this, the wall section for her books. Her books, first edition books, were all donated to the University of West Florida. So these are Philip books in here. And that's a game table. If nobody's ever seen it, it swivels and then it'll flip open and it'll lift up, and where you could actually hide your game, your checkers or your backgammon or board pieces inside the table, and then you could have afternoon tea served on it.
Multi-use.
Mm-hmm. So over the years, the carpet, Miss Maxon had wall-to-wall red carpet throughout the house. You'll notice this is the original flooring, the yellow heart pine. We also have pocket windows in the house that they actually open up into the frame of the house. The house is made out of the yellow heart pine. It's hard as nails. You can't drive a nail through it. But it's very volatile because it has a lot of turpentine in it. So, fire is a ever-present danger for any kind of house like this. But during the time frame when the Wesleys lived here, remember they had fireplace, 2 doors. They would open the doors and they would open the pocket windows, and that's how they got their air conditioning, their cross ventilation, because they didn't have air conditioning in the 1800s per se. So they are sealed shut now. So, and the house also has cypress beadboard, what we call beadboard in it, and the original handrail made out of yellow heart pine. If you want to go upstairs, we can show you Miss Maxon's bedroom, which I think is kind of interesting. Even though she never had children, she had a bedroom ready for her guests or the kids in the neighborhood where they could come stay.
It's nice of her.
Mm-hmm. And off to the right is the children's bedroom. Has the old rope beds on it. They're no longer have the mattresses, but you know, it's taught. The children were taught the nursery rhyme: "Sleep tight, don't let the bed bugs bite." And that's how they learned how to tighten the ropes for on the bed. So you know, it's pretty tight right now, but you know, over time the mattresses were removed. The secretary was her grandfather Maximus, brought over into the country. And these are wood prints that were used perhaps in the coal mines in Pennsylvania. If you look closely, there's a design here, has the eagle and the word eagle, and that's how they taught the children to read. Then we go over here, Miss Maxon. Remember I said the sun porch actually wrapped all the way around where the porch did. She enclosed part of this, and this was her working room, writing room.
Good views.
Mm-hmm. And this is Miss Maxon's bedroom. The furniture belonged to her family. And particularly, I love the settee. We call this the red room. And it's so small and dainty. And the ladies in that time, we weren't tall. They weren't tall like we are now. And they always had little footstools to keep their feet up off the cold floors. And then down here to the last two rooms, this is called the blue room. So it has the mahogany bed frame with a top over it, with the pineapple carvings for hospitality. Has a gentleman's shaving mirror, the butler's desk. There's always old story about the butler's desk, that the butlers had a little compartment in it that they kept the owners, the gentlemen of the house, secrets locked up in there. And supposedly there's one in there, but we've never been able to find it. So.
Oh no.
And that's a hand-painted fan behind you by her. It was done by her mother in finishing school. The crib, the 18th century. This is most all 18th century furniture. And Audubon prints in the background. The last room we have is the pink or lavender room. Has the French sleigh bed, and it was actually designed, my understanding was designed around that picture right over here of this little girl because of the pink in her dress. You'll see the sleigh bed, it's kind of short. During that time frame, they all slept sitting up. It's thought to be healthier. You know, if I have a cold or I've got a little bronchitis going on, you know, you kind of sleep sitting up. So that's why the bed is smaller. So, and the covers, most of the covers on the beds in the house were done by the ladies of Point Washington for Miss Maxon as gifts. So, really, we're all good neighbors.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like it.
Yeah. So let's see if I got this door unlocked. We're going to take grand view. No, I don't. Yeah, I do. Hold on. Old house sticks of the property and what it looked like, or does look like now.
Beautiful.
Isn't it gorgeous? So could you imagine? I would live here. But so this is the Wesley House. I think it's well worth a visit to come out if you're looking for something to do. You're kind of sunburned, need somewhere else to go, let the children run off some steam, some energy. Then I think Eden Gardens is the place to come.
Well, thank you for the tour.
Well, you're welcome, and we hope everybody enjoyed it.
One last grand view here.
Please ignore the hose. We're filling up the pond.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you.